And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We are starting off today once again in the spaceplane hangar because I want to try this SSTO thing again. Now, the SSTO-1, which is the creatively named ship that we tried yesterday, in the last episode, and that's the state it was in, and basically it did pretty good, but it needed a little bit more rocket fuel, and I think it would have been a good idea for it to have some more intake air. Now, go ahead and load up SSTO-1 Mark II. Now, I would have shown the build process of fixing this thing up, but I have to tell you, it was 35 minutes of some of the most frustrating build effort I've ever had. And I mean, 35 minutes is how long it took for me to change this fuel tank and its mate on the other side over here from jet engine fuel to rocket fuel, and add 4 radial intakes. A very simple change, you'd say, and you'd be right. It is a very simple change. Change a fuel tank and add a couple of radial intakes, and it took me over 35 minutes to get that done. I am not subjecting anybody to that, not even in speed up video. Alright, so I am going to see if I can get that centered on the little platform there. Well, I guess that'll have to do. Oh, yeah, there we go. Alright, so we'll save that and let us launch SSTO-1 Mark II. Alright, here we are on the runway. Go ahead and put the brakes on. Activate the engines, turn off the rockets. Fine controls on, SAS on, throttle up. Reach full throttle, engines up to full RPMs, and turn the brakes off. Let's see if we can get this baby into orbit. Alright, accelerating. Let's get some rocket assist. Rockets off, gear up, and we pitch up for an aggressive initial climb. Get ourselves out of this this thick lower atmosphere. Seems to be doing pretty good so far. We're now sporting a total of 2,200 liter capacity of liquid oxidizer. Liquid oxygen. Well, I suppose it could be. I don't know. It doesn't specify. And so now I'm going to fast forward the ride to 16,000, where we'll kick in the rocket engines and try for orbit. just about to 16,000. I've been flattening out the flight path just a little bit to increase the horizontal speed. But we're about to light the rocket engines and begin a very aggressive climb. Okay, right about now for the rocket engines. Begin climb. Pretty much a stand on your oh. I was late cutting off the jets, and I hope this thing can pull it out. Trying very hard to get this thing back under control, both with and without SAS. Alright. We're back under control, but we've wasted an enormous amount of fuel doing it. I don't know if we'll be able to make it now. Alright. What is our apoapsis? 36,000 and climbing. Maybe. But it's doubtful. RCS off. Apoapsis 54 and climbing. And 72 cut the engine. Pitch forward. Actually, don't cut the engine. Pitch to the horizon. And work on bringing up that periapsis. I think this is going to be a very close call sort of thing. And it's not going to happen. We're out of fuel. Okay, we got an apoapsis up to 174, but the periapsis is still at minus 32. All right. Now with only 27.77 liquid fuel remaining, there is no further attempts at much of anything other than landing. And so, I'm going to go ahead and assume that either the landing is successful or the abort mechanism is used, and that is successful. So we're going to call this a good landing, end the flight. I am going to restart, fly again, and I will cut back in as I approach 16,000 and see if perhaps this time I can do it without botching the switchover. Alright, we're approaching 15,000. Should be lighting the rocket engines very soon. Our intake air is down to 0.39 and dropping. And when it gets to about 0.2 or 0.15 is when we're going to have flameouts. So I need to have the jet engine shut down before then. So, with that in mind, light the rockets, cut the jets, pitch up. Into a rather aggressive stand on your tail kind of climb. Let's have some RCS to help it out. Switch over to orbit information. And we want the apoapsis and time to apoapsis to climb. "26 kilometers in climbing. 30 seconds ahead of us and increasing. Cut the RCS. Well, yeah, okay. Good. Climbing through 30,000 kilometers, or 30,000 meters, excuse me. 30 kilometers. Apoapsis up at 42 kilometers. Pitching up some more. Very much a stand on your tail thing. Apoapsis now approaching 70, pitching down. Putting all of our velocity into horizontal now. Cut engines, actually. Cut RCS. Let's have a look at our maneuver setup here. Add a maneuver about there. Okay, come on, stay open, you. I don't have time to mess around. That's going to have to do. Fortunately, we're almost on the maneuver node. And burn. Now we'll see if we have 1,000 meters a second in delta V available. If so, we might just achieve orbit. Looking good. That's not to say we won't have another maneuver, but we might achieve orbit with this. Or at least very close to it. I didn't have time to look and be sure. Getting critical on the oxidizer. Cut. Let's have a look. Delete the maneuver node. And let's see, we have a periapsis. What is it? 11 kilometers. That's not quite an orbit. All right. Okay, for this we need just a little bit of straight up prograde action. Watch the periapsis right here. See if we can bring it up to 70. Well, brought it up to 59. We still have some oxidizer left. Bearing in mind we're going to want some for a deorbit burn. Oh, 68 kilometers with a 400-kilometer apoapsis. Of course, I should have waited to apoapsis. I didn't realize that we had gotten so close to periapsis. Of course. Okay, we could still get an orbit out of this. We would have gotten an orbit if I had burned at the correct time, but I can still salvage this into an orbit and still be able to deorbit. Alright, we just have to get back up over 70 kilometers. And as soon as we get down to 68.106 kilometers, we'll start going back up. We cross the 70-kilometer border. Our apoapsis will stop shrinking because of atmospheric interference. We'll just coast up to apoapsis and use RCS. A little bit of physics time warp here. This close to the edge of the atmosphere, I don't mind doing that. Okay. Let's ride out to 404 kilometers altitude. Give myself a little bit of time to flip over prograde. From here, once we get lined up prograde, it should be a simple matter of a relatively short burst on the reaction control thrusters. Okay. Let it finish bouncing. All right, RCS on, and we fire. We thrust forward. Periapsis is coming up. 71 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an orbit. RCS off. SAS off. Okay, we have an orbit, and it's oblong as all get out. It's a 404 apoapsis and a 71 489 periapsis, but what the heck? It is a successful orbit in a single stage. The challenge now, landing intact. Let's see, where is the Space Center? Here. Periapsis is there. Okay. Let's try this. Okay, I'm going to adjust a little bit to get back into line with prograde. And now RCS on. Retro thrust. Bring the periapsis down to about 30 kilometers or less, I think. be enough. At least that's a starting reference. And let's see. All right, that's coming down. I want to actually try to return to Kerbal Space Center. I don't know how close I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to make the effort. I figure I can either get close and land, or get close out here in the ocean and use the abort system to put the plane in the drink and the pilot on a parachute. So I'm going to run this periapsis down into the ocean, or as close to it as my monoprop supply will permit. This happened to turn out to be a pretty fortuitous time of day to do this, having a shot at being mostly daylight, and the position such that we can actually return to the Space Center if we do it right. Alright. Let's cut it right about there. SAS off, RCS off. And now it's just a matter of ride this puppy down. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward until we're about 75 kilometers, and then we'll just ride it from there. After that, I'll just fast forward video as needed. Okay, passing through 70 kilometers on the way down. We no longer have the "You're in Space" music. Working to get the ship properly aligned in the direction of flight. Go ahead and use a little bit of RCS here to make this a little bit easier on myself. Alright. And I shouldn't have to pitch up, because as I hold this attitude and go around the planet, that will pitch up for me. Let's have a look at our entry position here. Alright. RCS and... let's see, is that going in the right direction? SAS off. RCS for forward thrust. Okay, we can't afford to try to play that game, so let's just get the correct attitude again. Pitch up just a teensy bit. Level out. Alright, RCS off. Okay, coming through 30,000. We'll take any landing we can get. And if it's in the drink, it's in the drink. We've had a successful single stage to orbit.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Coming down through 21,000. Keeping the throttle off, turn the jets on. And we have an increasing amount of intake air. I'm going to try not to use it unless we absolutely have to. We don't need Orbital anymore. We might manage to get to the west coast of this main continent. Maybe. We're actually not too far from it. It kind of depends on what we can do for horizontal velocity. But we're sinking at 100 meters per second, and that's accelerating. But given the amount of liquid fuel we've got, 107 liters. Not sure how much we can get when we start the engines. Alright, let's start them up. Okay, now that's interesting. They don't seem to want to start. They are not shut down. Liquid fuel deprived. What are you talking about? Oh. I was so concerned about fuel lines for rocket fuel, I didn't do anything about jet fuel. Alright. Real quick. Not that I think it's going to make much difference. Try it anyway. Get some jet fuel, liquid fuel transferred over to where at least 2 of the jets will work. Let's see if we can coast out to this beach area anyway. Or, well, not coast. Power out. And we don't need full throttle to this. Just need enough throttle to maintain an altitude. Or to not descend until we're ready to. Right, this engine is not putting anything out, so we'll shut that one down. As you can see, this baby likes to climb. Especially since it's now a lot more tail heavy with no fuel up in the forward section. I'm going to have to just use the engine throttle to control the vertical speed. But there's the coast up ahead. Let's see if a total of 91 liquid fuel is enough to get us there. Figured it'd make more sense to head towards the beach. Ah! Come on, get under control. Get under control. Alright, now that's what we have. Something approximating level flight. Reducing the throttle. We do have a descent rate about 17 meters a second. We are going down, but we're at 9 kilometers and we have a little ways to go. Given the thing, this thing likes to pitch way up because it's so tail heavy right now, it shouldn't be at all any kind of a problem in maintaining a good descent attitude, and flaring will be just a matter of turning the SAS off. At least coming down in the daytime, I'll be better able to see the landing situation and decide whether or not to just go ahead and use the abort. Okay, I've just been holding the attitude here, and I started reducing throttle and eventually turned the throttle all the way off because I do want some descent rate. I didn't want to have it too steep a descent angle, and 10 meters a second seems to be fine. And honestly, it looks like this thing might just land itself. Because if I let off the SAS, it's going to want to pitch up considerably. The descent rate is at around 10 meters a second. I can use combinations of pitch and engine to maintain that. And I'm not going to do anything fancy since the terrain appears to be reasonably flat. So I'm not going to try to do anything fancy like change course or heading or anything like that. And so I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward until we're almost at landing.
Alright, here we are, about 750 meters from the surface. Still descending. Everything looks reasonably flat enough. And so we're just going to go with it. Vertical speed is at 5 meters a second descent. See, I'm going to just tap the F to temporarily disable SAS and see if we get a bit more pitch angle. Let's try that again. Don't want to wobble too much here. Just wanted to increase the descent rate by presenting some more surface there. That may not have been the right way to go. Yeah, we're increasing descent rate. Don't want to increase that too much, though. "370 meters above the surface. Horizontal speed 33 meters a second, vertical speed minus 4.5. A nice, safe velocity for touchdown. See if we can do it this time without the disaster that happened in the last episode. And I realize that a lot of people think that killing Kerbals and spectacular explosions and crash landings is fun and funny. I consider it a failure. Okay, 130 meters over the terrain. I was going to look for a shadow, but I think that might not be such a great idea. We're running out of time for that sort of thing. "40 meters. There's the shadow. Coming down nice and easy. SAS off. Oh, wait a minute. No. Oh, no. All right. Resume flight, abort. Okay. The pilot lived. The ship is destroyed. And the ship would have survived had I not disabled SAS when I did. So now we know the proper landing profile for this ship. When landing and you're pitched way up to the moon like that, don't disable SAS. The ship will pitch up even further and then tip over. All right. In any event, this has been a successful SSTO flight. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.